West Pier Serenade. There's a dance going on, in the dark, above our heads. Men pressing women against laundered suits. A girl's surprised to find her older partner dances better than boys. A woman leaves imprinted lips staining the bartender's milky cheek. Above us the burned out pier against evening's Guinness black curtain, where feet shuffle in rhythm, a few toes getting stepped on, and maybe this close stepping's what we're made for, hands tight against gabardine or georgette-clad backs. It may be the sea, or the dancers' suggestive whispering, at last, at last, at last. Above our heads, pier bones lost tonight where phantoms clutch each other. Only the sea, or a woman breathing to her partner before kissing him. I wish tonight would last, would last, would last. I think that my poetry sort of hopefully goes back to the old idea of telling stories about people. And although I do write about landscapes and views of nature sometimes, I think the majority of my poems are actually storytelling poems using character, and I'm really interested in different people's voices as well as using my own, and how you can catch the rhythms of people's speech. And I think as well there's that thing in poetry that you can have a little snapshot of somebody's life, and hardly any other form does it in the same way, in that you can try and catch the rhythm of somebody's speech and give a little snapshot of them that's very rhythmic. And I also like mixing time frames sometimes in my poetry, so that a character might be looking as though they come from the 1940s, but they might step off a bus now. I think that that's really possible in a poem. And I suppose I'm also influenced by visual art, and so a lot of my poems work on visual colours and textures and shapes and sounds. Jimmy and Steph. That couple on the pier, Jimmy and Steph from Quadrophenia, grown up, grown old, back here for an all-nighter. Enquires how she's been, hears of grandkids, hubby's shed, anything except some nights. She hears his scooter pass by mum and dad's, hairdryer hum intact. He chats of ex-wives, ex-jobs, new timeshare, still digs back-combed hair and streamlined skirts, passing rock shop lists past faces who'll attend the gig, and laughing as some fat bloke munches sugar-fried eggs takes her hand. She remembers snaps of them aback at the hotel. Show him later, lets things stand. He feels her wedding ring upbraid hard skin, marvels that she doesn't let him go, as sharing natter from Modnet discovers who's in trouble, broke or dead. Thinks him unchanged, just chrome-shot hair, can still look good in slim fits. Who'd have twigged they'd date Brighton again if only for the weekend? In her head, unutterable, stay, let's not go back, they'll never say. Cases re-strapped, the re-donned beige and grey, the stay-pressed black and blue of yesterday. I think that there are lots of poets telling stories through poems and using character, and in very different ways. And I think in Leicester you've got a really vibrant sort of performance poetry scene, and you've got a lot of visiting poets who, you know, you find are doing performances using character writing as well as writing about themselves. And I suppose that mine does fit with that, but that also I am interested in kind of the way that you can write about history and the way that you can write about the past as well as the present. And one of the strengths of poetry around here is that there have been lots of poets working with museums and art galleries and things like that, and that really enables you to explore that. This poem's from my collection Pavilion, and it's set in Brighton, and it's about the ghost of the Prince Regent who had the Royal Pavilion built and him not wanting to leave. And it's called Regent. Ghosting the pavilion, I'm struggling to catch your eye as you study pock-marked mirrors I knew. Shock of my flowery moon pie face, hair seeming too small and not well curled, spirit of better times, bereft of dogs, parties, mistresses. Hoping to make tourists like yourself recoil, my impressive forms refracted in 100 knives, forks, spoons, shudders in and out of compotes hefty with wax fruit, world's eyes of porcelain mandarins, to no effect. Through gift shop shelves I squish, tinkling pot-bellied Christmas baubles, juddering gewgaws, rattling shrink-wrapped postcards, depicting regal underdraws that can't be mine, too large, sink me too large. And think of breathing times when trifling debts were trumpeted around the house, and penny sheets lampooned me, fat enough to sport those mighty underdraws. Listen. Saw phantom feet squelched into silk Chinese slippers for eternity task your steps. I call, but nothing sounds against the empty air. Outside, exotic borders roaring with 1,000 scarlet dragon tongues. I think that's really, really difficult to know, but at the moment I'm working on 2 sequences. One of them is about growing up in the sort of 1960s and 70s, and it's about all the icons from that period, I suppose. And the other one's actually set in the 18th century, and it's a series of poems about people telling you their stories. But the long-term future, you never know, and that's the nice thing about writing is really you'll never know where that'll take you or what it'll end up with. But certainly those 2 sequences are kind of the closest thing I've got to thinking about the future poetically.